how to achieve organization-wide alignment and a checklist to deliver it. In our previous blog post, we saw the vital importance of starting the alignment process at the very top with the executive team. And starting is the right word. We all know that the whole point of building alignment is to ensure that the entire organization is pointing in the right direction. So how come that seems so darn difficult? Why is it, even when your senior leadership team is pulling together, because you used the checklist in the previous post, right, that achieving organization-wide alignment feels so much like herding cats? In my experience, it's because of the one thing most senior leadership teams misunderstand about alignment, and it's this: alignment is not a communications issue. Now, that misunderstanding is understandable if that's not a torturous use of language. You've set a clear goal or mission, strategy, OKR, desire, or intent, whatever you're trying to align your folks around, but your folks just don't get it, or not enough of them anyway. So you mustn't have communicated it clearly, or they didn't hear it correctly, right? Almost always, no. Sure, there may be some outliers where a leader or leadership team just can't string the right words or slide deck together to get their message across. And at root, that's a communications issue, not an alignment issue. Or there may be occasions where the employee group just can't get it, and that's more likely a hiring issue than an alignment issue. Most of the time, your message got across just fine. The issue isn't communication. Alignment is almost always an interpretation and implementation issue. Here's what I mean. Let's say you've set a goal to translate your best-selling educational materials into Spanish as a response to perceived high demand in that market. Your mileage may vary. The actual goal, strategy, mission, etc., doesn't matter. Substitute one that works for you. Highly likely, your team will understand that goal perfectly. Why wouldn't they? It's perfectly clear-cut. However, the visionaries on your team will interpret it as an opportunity to reimagine your entire marketing approach to the whole market, irrespective of the fact that the existing marketing model is perfectly transferable. The operators on your team will interpret this as the starting gun to start selling, and will deliver 3 orders for the new product by the end of the week, despite the fact that you won't be able to ship anything for at least 6 months. The processors on your team will interpret this as the time to throw your entire year's AI budget at Claude Code to automate the translation process, even though the MVP version of your first 2 test publications have already been translated by a helpful client. The synergists on your team will interpret it as the perfect platform to start providing Spanish language training across the entire organization. One clear-cut, perfectly well-communicated goal, 4 entirely different ways of looking at it. Alignment-wise, what could possibly go wrong? That's an Irishman's attempt at light humor, by the way. And what about implementation of our perfectly clear and perfectly well-communicated goal to, as a reminder, translate our best-selling educational materials into Spanish as a response to perceived high demand in that market? Again, YMMV, etc. Substitute content, granularity, metrics, as you wish. That team you set up to put the audiobook versions of your existing content on a new platform is in early struggle, and despite all their best intent, can't possibly incorporate any new goals in their existing, already stretched activity. The entire sales department, on the other hand, isn't fun. And within a week of you setting the new goal, is already out there making commitments the rest of the organization is finding very hard, strike that, impossible to meet. The editorial department, one of the earliest created in the organization, is in treadmill, and its systems and processes are interminably sandbagging the entire translation process. The rest of your organization is in whitewater. And, well, here comes one more goal to achieve. Who's going to catch this one? In short, not everybody in the organization is equally capable of implementing on your perfectly clear, perfectly well-communicated goal. Quite the opposite. Implementation capabilities vary widely from team to group to division to department to location. And what's more, every one of those teams have people within them who each are interpreting those goals differently, as we saw above. Net result? Good communication plus widely differentiated interpretation and implementation equals organization-wide misalignment. We'll be looking deeper at identifying and ameliorating those interpretation and implementation challenges in future blog posts. But to get started, I put a checklist together that you and your team can use to start the journey of overcoming them. Download the checklist below and share it with your team.